Remains of Aziz Pahad have come out of the family home now, and a procession will now be led by law enforcement officials to the West Park Cemetery, where we know, of course, the funeral is expected to take place. A special official funeral that has been afforded to the late Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister. And of course, we've been speaking to family, friends, those who worked quite closely with him in the ANC, as well as government officials who have come out to support the family. And we were told, of course, that the procession was going to leave at 9:30, and it does seem that we're just a little bit ahead of schedule, but it does seem as though from the family side they are going to now make their way to the West Park Cemetery, where of course we are expecting the proceedings in terms of the funeral itself to begin at around 10 a.m. This morning. So as you can see in front of you, family is now coming out following a prayer session that took place this morning. Mr. Pahad's remains arrived just after 8 a.m. this morning, and we understand that a prayer session then proceeded inside the home. And we know, of course, from speaking to some of our guests here, that we are expecting more dignitaries to be arriving at the West Park Cemetery itself. We are expecting former President Thabo Mbeki, who was very close to Mr. Pahad, to be there, as well as the former president as well, Kgalema Motlanthe. Now, when I look at the program itself, we are expecting that it's going to be divided into two parts, but all funeral proceedings will be taking place from the West Park Cemetery. We understand that the welcoming remarks will be done by the Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi. We'll have the reading of the obituary. We'll also have a tribute by a caregiver, Ms. Mbali Ncube. We're going to have musical items. We'll have tributes from ambassadors as well. We've got a tribute from the SACP. Mr. Ronnie Casserols is expected to be doing that tribute. We'll also have one from Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, as well as a tribute from a family representative. Around 11 o'clock, we are expecting that the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, will then deliver the eulogy. The second part of the funeral will then be handed over to the family to take over to, of course, observe the Muslim burial rites. But at this stage here in Saxonwold, we are preparing to make our way to West Park Cemetery.
And Slee, of course, you also spoke earlier to some family members. You spoke to some dignitaries there as well. You know, just from a general sense of what you've heard so far, just to remind our viewers again of who exactly, you know, his family especially, how they remember Aziz Pahad, and also what some of the dignitaries had to say.
We've certainly lost somebody who was regarded as being a critical and crucial part in terms of where we find ourselves in our democracy, somebody who played a big role in our liberation struggle. You know, the sentiments that we've been hearing all morning was somebody who was kind, somebody who was warm, someone who was genuine, somebody who not only contributed so much to our freedom in South Africa, but also played a big role in his family as a leader, really loved by his nieces and nephews, who said that, you know, he was somebody who was always willing to listen, somebody who, you know, did not make you feel small. And I think, speaking to his niece, what really stood out for me was that it doesn't seem as though perhaps we celebrated this man enough, that his contribution, you know, was recognized enough. So I think for the family, they really appreciate the gesture by President Cyril Ramaphosa to afford him a special Category 2 official funeral. I think for the family, it really means a lot to know that their father is being celebrated and is also being honored in this way.
Thank you so much, Slindelo Masekane, at Saxonwolds, of course, the home, the Pahad home, where we will be seeing the late Aziz Pahad being transported. His remains being transported to West Park Cemetery, where my colleague Sipamandla Koge is, and he will definitely be telling us now more about some of the dignitaries who might have already arrived there. Sipamandla, if you can hear me, maybe just tell us what we are seeing on our screens at the West Park Cemetery right now.
Well, things are taking shape. More and more dignitaries are arriving here. I've just spotted the Deputy Minister International Relations here, Alvin Bottas. There is the Chief Whip of the NEC member, Phoebe. They are all here. Deputy Minister, thank you very much for your time. The gentleman that is being laid to rest here today paved the way for young leaders like you to occupy this position as the Deputy Minister of International Relations, but most importantly, his contribution to South Africa's position in shaping the country's foreign policy as well as diplomacy as we make way for members of the SAPS. Sorry about that. Talk to us about your fond memories of him, but what he did for the country.
Yeah, I think Aziz Pahad in the repository of foreign policy has always been a reference point, both during his tenure as South Africa's foreign deputy minister, but even afterwards. He has been a go-to person when we sought to understand how to reshape better South Africa's foreign policy perspective, in particular in regards to the changes, the concurrent changes that we are experiencing in terms of shaping a multipolar world. We had the privilege to still seek his counsel, even as the current leadership of DIRCO. But what he means for us as South Africa, he has really been the one person that has pivoted our Pan-African outlook under his tenureship and as part of the collective of leadership during the era of President Mbeki. He has been very instrumental to affirm South Africa's four concentric circles upon which our foreign policy are based on. That speaks about Pan-Africanism, solidarity with the global South, cooperation with your industrialized North, and obviously the deepening and transformation of global governance institutions. So we owe our homage and our certainty on our foreign policy predictability to the work that Comrade Aziz Pahad, amongst others, have done.
Can I ask for a favor from you? Can I ask you to deploy your chief whip here to come and talk to us?
Absolutely.
Please give
as a member of parliament of the ANC is my responsibility.
Please do so. Well, there's the Deputy Minister of International Relations, Alvin Bottas, here. As my colleague Tammy will show you a number of people that have arrived here. In front of me, I see here a gentleman who works with former President Thabo Mbeki from the Thabo Mbeki Foundation. We expect that former President Thabo Mbeki will be coming here. He worked for a very long time and very well with the late Mr. Aziz Pahad. But well, let's get just more reaction and messages of condolences from the Chief Whip of the majority party in Parliament, Pemi Majority. Thank you very much for your time. A sad day, one of your greatest leaders who made his contribution to the struggle of liberation of this country, but most importantly, in a democratic South Africa, his contribution is well known. Your fond memories of him, but what legacy he leaves behind, and how are you going to ensure that that legacy is honored and protected?
Indeed, a leader who served this country with all excellency. We are going to miss Comrade Aziz Pahad for his firmness when it comes to international solidarity. He was not mincing his words when it comes to peace initiatives in the continent. We are now seeing a lot of coup d'etats, instability in the continent, and this is what he has been standing very firm and condemning. But also the fact that he also wanted to have us building strong relationship with other countries in terms of exchange, skills exchange, empowerment of young people. Remember the Cuban program, he has been there at the forefront. Remember when we took the Youth League to a program with Sweden and Denmark. I was the Treasurer General at the time. He even taught us what is international diplomacy, but also to ensure that in Parliament you don't only discuss your national issues, you must discuss international issues because we're a global community. Even now we have not missed that, and we are saying he has played his role. We as the ANC caucus will always remember him for his discipline, his firmness, his outright debate when we're dealing with serious issues. He was not a person that we cannot rely on all the time.
One of the things I knew about him, issues of women empowerment, women emancipation, he was very vocal on those.
And he was very vocal to an extent that when we sent delegation anywhere, if you point at him to raise the name, he will raise the name of the woman. Something that is very odd when it comes to men. He respected women at all fronts, and he loved to embrace young people, especially those who were in the ANC.
Thank you very much for your time. We'll take a walk with my colleague Tammy Kamane. I've spotted the president of the Congress of, or rather COP, let me put it like that, Ndatem Siwalikota, who was the defense minister at the time that Mr. Aziz Pahad was the deputy minister of foreign affairs. My colleague Tammy will come with me as we try to get more reaction from many leaders who are here as well. Gentlemen, I'm so sorry to disturb you. Let's talk about Mr. Aziz Pahad. You were the Minister of Defense. You worked for a very long time with him. Your reflections and basically your fond memories of him.
Well, you know, when we got into the cabinet of Comrade Thabo Mbeki.
Yes. Okay. No, go ahead. Continue. Coming. You can continue. Yeah, you can continue. Tammy will just show us the visuals of former President Thabo Mbeki arriving there, but we can continue with the discussion.
Yes. No, I first started working with him when we got into the cabinet of President Thabo Mbeki, and I was in defense and he was in foreign affairs. So in all the problems that we're having in Africa, in the DRC, the Rwanda massacre, and all of that, he was very helpful to me because I had never been in exile, so he was a man of exile, so he could, he helped me quite a lot, introduced me to very many people and so on. And I must say that I really enjoyed work with him until when we were dismissed.
Okay, Ndati Likota, thank you very much for your time. Well, that is Mr. Likota, the leader of COPE, as we make our way back to the front there, as we see more and more dignitaries arriving. My colleague Tammy Kamane will lead the way. The young and old are here to pay their last respects to the departed Mr. Aziz Pahad here. Former President Thabo Mbeki is here. Former President Mbeki worked for, and we see the arrival of President Cyril Ramaphosa here. The President will deliver eulogy here. Mr. President, how are you? I'm very well, Mr. President. President Cyril Ramaphosa arriving here. Let me see if Mr. President, it's a very sad day today, the demise and the departure of Mr. Aziz Pahad. You have known him. Talk to us about your fond memories of him, please.
Well, it is indeed a sad day, but it's also a day of taking time to celebrate his life, his memory, and all that he contributed to make South Africa what it is today. So I remember him as a very dedicated, a very highly intellectual person who contributed immensely just to the intellectual capacity in the ANC and also in government. The contributions he made to our foreign policy, and the foundation stones that he laid is what has made our foreign policy what it is today. So I will be talking at length over that and celebrating his life.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Your team is telling us to go away. You're still going to deliver your eulogy. Thank you very much for time. President Cyril Ramaphosa.